mga maaaring gawin para sa pagtaas ng sahod.
And syempre po, ang pag-reassess. Every year, another common theme.
So kung consumer ka, NCR tayo, para sasabihin mo, ang liit naman ng 100, hindi kasya. Pag nandun ka naman sa tawi-tawi, negosyante ka, sasabihin mo, teka muna, parang ang bigat ng 100. So mas maganda na pag-isipan natin kung ano yung wage hike na appropriate, sufficient, ng maiuuwing kita ng ating mga manggagawa. Lahat po tayo ay bahagi at apektado ng ekonomiya. Ang dapat na direksyon natin ay ang pag-unlad na kasamang lahat dahil sa isang umunlad na ekonomiya, mahalaga ang bawat isa. Salamat po.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Ngayon, ako po ay magsasalita tungkol sa 13 billion pesos na slinash mula sa budget ng DSWD, particularly ang 4-piece program. Alam naman po natin, kahapon, nag-release po ng press statement ang aking esteemed colleague, Vice Chairperson ng Appropriations, Congressman Jill Bongalon. And alam naman, makikita rin naman natin ito sa National Expenditure Program noong 2023. At kung ikukumpara natin ito sa General Appropriations Act of the same year, may makikita tayong difference of 13 billion pesos. Now, my esteemed colleague, yung statement niya, it was confirmed by the good Senator Amy Marcos, and she also explained the rationale behind the budget cut of 13 billion pesos. I am here today, nandito ako sa harapan ninyo, upang i-explain ang repercussions ng napakalaking budget cut na ito sa ating poorest of the poor, and of course, ang ating flagship program na ang layunin ay i-break ang intergenerational cycle of poverty. Makikita rin natin sa Philippine Development Plan na ang target natin, 28% of beneficiaries must be deemed self-sufficient. So, ano nga po ba ang repercussions ng 13 billion budget cut? Base sa aking meeting with the DSWD, as of this week, ang estimated and projected budget deficit for the 4-piece program for the year 2023 is at 9 billion pesos already. Towards the end of the year, we can expect that number to rise. Why do I say that we could expect that number to rise? Kasi sa proseso ng paghahanap ng mga deficiency, kakailanganin bumaba ng COA sa bawat field office ng DSWD. Kailangan nila kausapin ang bawat benepisyaryo ng 4-piece na hindi pa nakakatanggap ng cash grant. So that process of going around the country, going around the field, that would take time. And once makolate na nila yung findings, it is hindi automatic na ma-augment ang budget ng DSWD upang mabigay na ang cash grant ng mga benepisyaryong matagal nang naghihintay ng kanilang cash grant. Alam naman po nating lahat na paulit-ulit po itong problema na nararanasan ng bawat 4-piece beneficiary throughout the years. As a matter of fact, I would also like to highlight the 2023 budget because it was also during that year, kung bubusisiin niyo po ang General Appropriations Act, nakalagay rin dyan mismo. Ang pondo for 4-piece for the year 2023, nagbayad rin tayo dyan ng unpaid cash grants of 4-piece beneficiaries noong 2017 to 2018. So, if you would imagine, may mga 4-piece beneficiary na naghintay ng 5 taon, and then sa 2023, doon lang sila nabayaran. We have to learn from the past. And of course, in order for this program to succeed, we need sufficient funding. And like I said, ito yung effects ng budget slash. Number one, madedelay ang cash grants ng beneficiaries. Number two, yung case load ng ating mga city and municipal links of the 4-piece program is currently at 1:500 beneficiaries. So imagine mo, yung social worker, bawat isang social worker, 500 beneficiaries ang kailangan niyang asikasuhin. And it's even commendable kasi yun yung pinakamababang city municipal link is to beneficiary ratio na na-attain natin sa program. By March, we should expect that the ratio would be 1:800. Obviously because of deficiencies in the budget. That is why I would like to take this opportunity today to use this platform, because I would like to respectfully appeal to our fellow lawmakers, particularly to our counterparts in the Senate. Because the House, in the past 2 years na nakaupo po ako dito sa Kongreso, we have always adopted the recommended budget for the DSWD 4-piece program in the National Expenditure Program. Kung may nagsalita during the budget deliberations or sa plenaryo tungkol sa 4-piece program, ang panawagan natin sa Kongreso, pataasin ang pondo para sa 4-piece upang mabayaran na natin ang mga hindi pa nakakatanggap ng cash grant, upang yung mga naka-waitlist sa programa at matagal nang naghihintay, hindi na kailangan maghintay ng mas matagal pa. And syempre po, ang pag-reassess. Every year, another common theme in the 4-piece program is that every year, tuwing may nadedalist, we always want due process to be followed. And kapag rini-reassess, gumagamit tayo ng SWIDI. So yun yung Social Welfare Development Index. And that would require added expenses. Kasi marami na namang bababa sa field to verify ang situation ng ating mga beneficiaries. So it is very essential na number one, para mag-succeed ang ating programa, kailangan hindi na de-delay ang grants na natatatanggap ng bawat beneficiaryo. Number two, kailangan marami tayong personnel on the ground na minomonitor ang bawat beneficiaryo. And number three, kung kulang ang budget and kung mag-a-anticipate na naman tayo ng isa pang budget deficit, it will take time to augment it. Kasi kung kukunin natin sa unprogrammed funds ang deficiency, hindi naman kontrolado ng DSWD yan. Kasi marami rin naman tayong kailangang pondahan na importanteng programa rin. So, what I'm basically saying now is that hopefully moving forward in the succeeding budgets, particularly for the 4-piece program of the DSWD, I hope that sana hindi na po magkaroon ng budget cuts para hindi na maulit-ulit ang ganitong sitwasyon. Dahil ang ating mga 4-piece beneficiary na naghihintay sa kanilang conditional grant, syempre, humihingi rin sila ng accountability mula sa government. And of course, magandang ibigay natin sa kanila yon, and magandang mapagsilbihan natin sila ng maayos by providing our department the adequate funding in order for them to carry out their functions to the best of their abilities. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. May we call on RG Cruz of ABS-CBN for the first question.
Kong Stella, this is for you, but you can face the camera na lang. We understand that the Committee of the Whole was supposed to convene today. Can we get an update kung ano nang magiging proceedings ng Committee of the Whole on charter change, and how is the process going to run?
So, this, well, as of this afternoon. The Committee of the Whole will be moved to Monday. So this is because of the availability of the resource persons. So as you know, napaka-importante ang inputs ng ating mga resource persons sa panukalang batas na to.
Paano bang magiging takbo ng Committee of the Whole? Is it going to be like your regular committee meeting, just that it's bigger, everybody's there, and then how do you police the proceedings, and then paano yon kung magko-Committee of the Whole ba, uulitin pa ba yung magiging deliberations doon pag nagkaroon ng plenaryo afterwards? Because of course the Committee of the Whole will have to transmit its own committee report to the plenary afterwards, and then that's when the 3/4 vote will happen if it gets there.
Well, ang mangyayari nito, RG, is sa plenaryo na namin gagawin yung committee deliberation. So in a way, mapa-fast track na yung buong proceedings.
When you do go to the plenary, when you reconstitute yourself as the plenary, pwedeng magbotohan na lang kayo.
After, yes, that is correct.
Thank you. Terence Grana of AFP Radio.
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. Ano po ang take nyo dun sa ipinasa na ng Senado na 100 peso increase?
So, katulad nga po ng sinabi ko, sir, basta pagdating sa wage hike, ay suportado naman po natin ang pagsuporta or pagprotekta ng welfare ng ating mga manggagawa. Ang kailangan lang natin siguraduhin is kung ano ang binigay natin with our left hand sa mga manggagawa. Ayaw naman natin na mawala sa kaliwang kamay through economic effects ang binigay natin sa kaliwang kamay. Yun ang kailangan natin siguraduhin. And at the same time, katulad ng nabanggit ko kanina, iba-iba nga po ang presyo sa bawat region. So baka yung 100 pesos po, baka kulang na kulang po dito sa NCR. Baka sapat siya sa ibang region, pero kulang na kulang dito sa NCR kasi mas mataas po ang presyo ng bilihin dito sa NCR. So yun po ang kailangan natin pag-aralan. Yung 100 pesos po kasi na wage hike sa Senate bill, yan po ay across the board. Pareho po yan sa lahat ng regions. So yun po yung nakikita po natin na baka pwede po natin pag-aralan pa. So ang kailangan kasi dito is equitable siya. So yan ang that's why we need to be able to get the inputs of our experts, particularly yung ating regional wage boards. Kasi sa ngayon, ang sistema is pagdating sa minimum wage hike determination, pinapaubaya po natin yan sa regional wage boards. So that's the current system. So ang tanong is, isasantabi ba natin yan and adopt a uniform minimum wage hike for every single region? Yun ang question mark, di ba? So, ang pinakamagandang gawin is dinggin na natin, finally dito sa Congress, ang several pending bills. So, nagre-range po siya sa 150 pesos, I think up to 350 pesos. Yun po ang range ng pending bills dito po sa Congress. So, kay Deputy Speaker Raymond Mendoza po yung 150 pesos. So, sa pagkakaalam ko po, next Tuesday na po ang magiging hearing ng Committee on Labor and Employment.
Thank you, ma'am. Gab Lalu of Inquirer.
Hello. Last Friday, kasi previously, di ba may sinabi kayo na yung pag nagtaas ng sweldo, ma-hurt yung mga MSMEs, mahihirapan yung mga small businesses. So, last Friday, I relayed your fears to Labor Leader Luque Espiritu. And sabi niya, kung yung MSME argument daw, ang nagpo-push lang daw nun yung mga malalaking kumpanya. So, ang suggestion niya, kung concerned daw talaga ang government sa mga MSMEs, bakit hindi i-subsidize ng government yung wage increase cost ng mga MSMEs? Kumbaga, yung gobyerno magbabayad nung itataas ng sweldo. Ano pong tingin niyo doon sa ganong proposal?
Actually, Hindi ako nagsabi nung comment na yun tungkol sa MSME. But anyway, gayon pa man.
I mean, it was mentioned
No,
in the
that's
press
fine.
briefing.
Yes, that's fine. But gayon pa man, sa pagkakaalam ko, exempt naman po yata ang MSME sa Wage Rationalization Act. So, I think that already covers it. So, hindi na natin kailangan pang pag-usapan yung exempt po sila. Ayan.
On the 4-piece issues naman, sinasabi kasi ni Senator Amy Marcos na yung ni-remove na funds, talaga namang hindi nagagastos. Kumbaga, hindi pa siya nare-release kasi. Kaya pinatanggal na lang. Instead, ibalik pa sa Treasury. So, what can you say about that?
Yes. Thank you for raising that question. Gusto ko rin sana habulin yun, no? According to the good senator, hindi nagamit. 45% lang ng fund yung nagamit. And that is the supposed rationale kung bakit tinanggalan ng 13 billion pesos. Ngayon, ito lang naman po yung issue natin tungkol dyan. Tinanggalan ng 13 billion pesos noong 2023. If we were to review the 4-piece law, nakalagay po dyan na dapat merong nationalized household targeting system to be renewed every 3 years. Yan yung tinatawag nating listahanan at dyan natin kinukuha ang mga beneficiary ng 4-piece. Ngayon, balikan po natin ang listahanan 3, listahanan 2. Listahanan 3 supposed to commence on the year 2019. Hindi pa po ako member ng Congress during that time, pero aware po ako na for that particular year, the budget was passed at the end of the first quarter. And normally, natatapos siya bago matapos ang calendar year. So that is fortuitous event number 1. Second event na hindi natin na-foresee, 2020, tumama yung pandemic. Now, nag-commence yung listahanan 3, 2019, dapat by 2022, tapos na siya. So, ano yung explanation kung bakit 45% lang ang nagastos ng DSWD? Yan lang ang nagastos ng DSWD kasi na-exhaust na nila ang pwede nilang gastusin. Sa madaling salita, ang mga nakalistang pangalan sa listahanan 2 and listahanan 1, yan na lang talaga ang pwedeng paggastusan ng DSWD. However, the DSWD has informed both chambers of Congress, and of course, since 2019 pa sinimulan ang listahanan 3, and alam nating lahat, maraming mahihirap sa Pilipinas, at the end of 2022, doon na-complete ang listahanan 3. And at the beginning of the year, nabuo na ang 4.4 million households, and then dyan tumiming ang deficit ng 13 billion pesos. So sa madaling salita po, ang dahilan kung bakit, I know the good senator might have good intentions kasi nga nakita niya mababa ang utilization rate ng agency, pero kung bubusisiin natin ng maayos at kakausapin natin ang ahensya at aalamin natin ang dahilan kung bakit yan lang ang nagastos. Kasi during that time, yun lang talaga ang pwedeng gastusin ng DSWD. Para maging parte ng 4-piece, hindi naman yan automatic na basta may mahirap, pasok agad. Hindi siya ganun kasimple. May batas kasi tayong sinusundan, may batas na sinusundan yung ahensya. At nung lumabas ang listahanan 3, nakakalungkot na malaki ang nabawasang budget. Kaya po nag-arise ang ganitong problema.
Can I just, pabalikan ko later yung tanong mo, ha? So kung yung follow-up mo sa 4-piece, mamaya na lang ako mag-intervene. Doon sa minimum wage, doon sa MSMEs, nakalimutan ko lang banggitin kasi naalala ko bigla yung conversation. Sorry, senior moments na ako. So, okay, kahit na exempt ang minimum wage earners because of a law, tatandaan natin, ang importante kasi is ayaw natin ng wage distortions. So kahit na ang wage hike affects to the minimum wage hike obviously affects only the minimum wage earners, kailangan din natin i-adjust yung next income bracket, di ba? Kasi syempre, hindi naman pwedeng magiging pareho ang sweldo ng pinakamababa at yung susunod, di ba? So yun ang so pag nung kinompute ng mga economic managers natin yung magiging epekto sa unemployment, sinama nila yung epekto ng pag-a-adjust ng other salary brackets. So I guess doon pumapasok yung comment na matatamaan yung MSME. So yun ang tandaan na lang po natin. And number 2, kahit na exempt ang MSMEs dun sa minimum wage, hindi sila exempt sa PhilHealth contributions at saka sa SSS contributions. Kaya ko rin naisip na magandang masuspend ang PhilHealth contributions nila. So talagang at least yon klaro na meron silang temporary relief.
Thank you.
Kuya, follow up lang.
Sige. Okay, Gab, go ahead.
Sir, meron bang personally mga 4-piece beneficiaries na lumapit sa inyo na dahil dun sa nangyaring yun, hindi na sila nakatanggap afterwards? Merong ganong cases na lumapit sa inyo mismo?
Definitely. And in any case, it is also public knowledge na ang daming benepisyaryo ang nagreklamo dahil delayed ang pagdating ng kanilang cash grant.
Okay, thank you. Isa-isa lang Milky Regonan of DZRH, and then Lenes Capanti, and then Annalie.
Mia. Ay. Ako natin. Ako na magaw. Kong Stella, based on your statement, kukonsultahin yung economic managers kung ano maging epekto sakaling mapasa yung anumang amount of wage hike dito sa Congress. Pero po ba tayong titignan na time frame? Kasi ang sabi ng labor groups, kailangan na daw nila ng aumento sa sahod sa kabila ng patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng mga bilihin.
Yes, so katulad ng sinabi ko, beginning Tuesday next week, mag-uumpisa na ang pandinig sa mga iba't ibang minimum wage hike bills natin. So, urgent matter ito, importante. And alam naman natin, mataas pa rin ang presyo ng bilihin. Pero kahit paano naman, at least in the last 12 months, kahit paano naman po, bumaba na rin naman po ng kaunti ang inflation natin, at least compared to 12 months ago. Kasi sa ngayon, nasa 2.8% tayo. Of course, mataas pa rin ang presyo ng bigas, pero kahit paano, yung ibang presyo ng ibang commodities, kahit paano nag-ease ang inflation. But gayon pa man, Tuesday next week, we'll start the hearing of these bills.
And we will expect some report from the economic managers from Malacanang.
No, we will
By Tuesday.
invite them as
Okay.
resource persons, katulad ng usual natin na gawin.
Ma'am, samantalahin ko yung tanong yung divorce bill, finally nasa plenaryo na ng Kamara. As a Lady Solon, especially as a wife and mother, your stand on this?
Ang hirap naman ang tanong na yan.
Your stand lang, ma'am.
Parang pwede na lang mag-submit sa'yo, ganon. Hindi, syempre, ang mga parameters, syempre dyan is, yung una sa lahat is yung mga sitwasyon that leads to marriages that need to be dissolved, right? Halimbawa, mga sitwasyon na nagkakasakitan, di ba? Yun naman talaga ay dapat sa ngayon kasi hindi siya ground, hindi po ba? So, tingin ko kung yan ay, kung ang existing laws sana natin ay maging klaro na yan ay ground for separation, sana yung existing framework pwede na sana amyendahan na lang. So ako, ganun yung aking pagtingin, di ba? But ako, bukas pa naman ako. Sa akin, yun yung mga, wala pa rin akong pinag-iisipan pa, basically. But ako, at the end of the day, bilang babae, ang pinaka-importante sa lahat ay dapat naman ang bawat babae or lalaki kailangan safe at happy sa isang relasyon.
So ang stand mo sa ngayon, ma'am, is pinag-iisipan pa.
Oo, at bukas at syempre I will have to, kasi hindi siya madali, hindi siya kailangan pakinggan at kailangan isipin din kung ano ang modalities ng pagbuwag ng isang relasyon.
Madali bang may papasa, ma'am, yung divorce bill?
Yun din yun, di ba? May consideration din na ganun. May political considerations kung magiging mahirap, madali. Meron bang mas madaling paraan and at the same time it addresses all our needs. Kaya ako, I will carefully study the matter.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. From GMA Online, Janes Capanti, you're recognized.
Ay, ma'am, good morning po. Yung number 2 ko pa yun. Pero yung number 1, ma'am, listening to your arguments, sa tingin niyo po ba ang gustong i-pursue ng House ay wage hike, but the wage hike will, yung amount ng wage hike will vary per region?
Nakikita ko na mas rational ang ganong approach. Kasi yung 100 na uniform, parang mahirap siyang mag-work dahil nga dun sa examples na pinakita ko, whether from a consumer's point of view or from a business person's point of view. Diba? So kung consumer ka, NCR tayo, parang sasabihin mo, ang liit naman ng 100, hindi kasya. Pag nandun ka naman sa tawi-tawi, negosyante ka, sasabihin mo, teka muna, parang ang bigat ng 100. So ang sasabihin mo, magbabawas na lang ako ng workers. Or baka siguro mag-invest na lang ako sa automation. So magiging, in effect, anti-labor naman yon. So mas maganda na pag-isipan natin kung ano yung wage hike na appropriate, sufficient, fair sa bawat lugar. So, hindi siya madali. Diba? So, sa totoo lang, yun ang pinakamahirap sa wage hike na usapan dahil it really requires careful study. So, yun ang gagawin natin beginning Tuesday.
Okay. Yung pangalawa po, yung divorce. Di ba? Kasi, Sir, can chime in. Ay, sorry. Sir, can you chime in? Kasi nabanggit niyo po yung yun nga na hindi explicit sa existing laws na domestic violence is a ground for annulment or psychological incapacity, yung mga ganun. Tingin niyo po ba yung amendment ng existing laws to make that explicit na ground yun, mas madaling pumasa? Better chances of, the measure being enacted into law?
Ako sa tingin ko, yes. Mas madali.
Based from my understanding of the law, in cases of abusive relationships, diba, legal separation lang yung pwede. Hindi ka makakapag-annul. And bilang isang co-author ng divorce bill, naniniwala ako na it's about time because out of all the countries in the world, it is only us and the Vatican. But at the same time, it is also important to give respect to the multitude of religions we have in the country. But at the same time, we shouldn't deprive men or women of the right to separate in cases of abusive relationships. So sa madaling salita, kung sakaling mapasa ang divorce bill at syempre, hindi may mga sektor sa lipunan na tutulig sa rito, siguro wag na lang sila magpa-divorce. Pero doon sa mga taong na-trap sa isang abusadong relasyon, we shouldn't deprive them of that because this is a means for them to be productive and happy members of society. So, yun lang naman.
Thank you. Annalise Soberano of Bombo Radio.
Kong Stella, good afternoon, and Kong JC. Ma'am, take nyo lang doon sa panukala ng Department of Agriculture na imbes pera ang pamamahagi natin sa 4Ps ay bigas. Bigas na lang po daw ang ibibigay, imbes na pera. Ano po ang take nyo dito? Thank you.
Of course, I think we need careful study and scrutiny on that, but if it were to be my personal preference, syempre, mas maganda pa rin in the form of cash grant kasi yun na rin yung nakasanayan natin and there are already systems in place kung paano ma-receive ng beneficiary ang cash grant.
Malapit na, sir. Nag-inannounce na dito.
Well, mas madali i-distribute ang cash. Yun ang first. Ekonomista kasi ako so parang ko ano yung pinaka-efficient. And ang pag nagbigay ka kasi ng cash sa isang mahirap na pamilya, yun din naman ang pupuntahan ng cash. Mapupunta talaga sa your most basic need, which is bigas. Problema kasi kung bigas, magpro-procure pa ang isang ahensya. And alam naman natin na hindi tayo magaling sa pag-procure, nagtatagal, and at the same time, baka alam niyo na, magkaroon pa ng kung ano-anong pangyayari. So, yun ang mga downside. Pero ang kagandahan sa bigas, alam nyo, sure ka na mapupunta talaga si bigas, hindi siya mapupunta sa sugal or alak or sigarilyo. So, yun ang may upside, may downside. Pero pangkalahatan, may advantage in terms of bilis and in terms of bilis ang cash grants.
Okay na? Kat Forbes of Radio Pilipinas.
Ayun. Good afternoon po, Kongs. Hingi lang po ako ng comment or statement ninyo doon sa directive ni PBBM sa DSWD and NEDA na magkaroon ng mechanism para magkaroon ng automatic adjustment yung cash grant sa 4Ps para makasabay siya sa inflation. And if ever po, baka meron na rin po kayong nakikitang suggestions. Thank you po.
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. Actually, here in the House of Representatives, sa committee natin on poverty alleviation, nagkaroon na tayo ng technical working group kung saan meron tayong consolidated bill. Hindi lang ako sure kung kailan siya nakaschedule for second and third reading, pero natapos na ng technical working group na ito and ina-adjust natin ang amount ng cash grant para makapagsabay siya sa inflation. So for example, dun sa educational grant, 'di ba? The elementary level meron diyang 300, gusto sana natin gawing 500 dito sa house. Junior high school, 500 pesos ngayon, dito sa house gusto natin gawing 700, and then sa senior high school from 700 gusto natin gawing 900. And of course, gusto rin natin pataasan diyan ang kanilang mga health grant to around 1,750. And it is also important kasi sa current 4Ps law na meron tayo, I think the mandatory review period it's not happening on a yearly basis, no? I-double check ko na lang kasi ayoko magkamali sa exact number of years bago mag-review. I think it's either 3, 5, or 7. But here in the House, we proposed that the review period should be once a year because hindi naman natin alam kung kailan darating ang susunod na pandemya o sakuna. So at least every year, rene-review natin. And kung sakaling magkaroon ng emergency at mabawasan ang buying power ng peso, madali mag-make ng adjustment. Napakahalaga rin na every year meron tayong mechanism in place kung sakaling i-adjust yung presyo dahil every year rin natin inaasikaso ang budget. At least kung magkakaroon ng adjustment as to the amount of cash grants na pwedeng matanggap ng isang 4Ps beneficiary, kami dito sa Kongreso and siguro sa Senado, at least mapapasok namin sa budget ang wastong halaga upang magampanan ang mga nakasaad doon na presyo ng cash grant.
Okay, Kat. Mela of Channel 4.
Hi, Kong Stella, and even Kong Abalos can also add po, no? About lang po dun sa pag-move sa Monday sa RBH, pagtalakay sa RBH 7, can you share to us, sino-sino po ba yung mga inaay natin na may conflict sa schedule? Kasi I understand even the DBM parang nasa Cebu po ngayon. And sino-sino po kaya yung inaay natin na humarap din dito sa pagtalakay ng RBH 7? And natanong ko na rin po to actually kaninang umaga, pero may I ask also your view na even si President Marcos sa isang interview kahapon ay nireiterate niya talaga yung kanyang pagnanais dito nga sa economic charter change na talagang mapush na sa Kamara at Senado.
Pasensya na po, wala ako sa Committee on Rules, so hindi ko alam yung at sa Committee on Constitutional Amendments, so hindi ko nakikita ang listahan. But generally, ang nakikita naman natin na inimbitahan would be, of course, the chambers, no? Kasi sila yung sila yung directly affected, yung mga mismong foreign investors na papasok. So, para ma-validate kung ano ba talaga yung pakiramdam ng mga foreign investors, ano yung pagtingin nila sa Pilipinas. At sila yung nagre-represent kasi nung mga yon. That's number one. Number two, nandyan din yung mga maapektuhan ng mga pagpasok ng ating mga foreign investors. So kasama dyan yung mga representatives ng small businesses. Number three, of course, ang mga ekonomista, members of the academe, na silang makakapagbigay hopefully ng isang objective na pananaw. Dahil ang mga to, matagal na po nilang pinag-aaralan ang economic provisions at kung anong naging epekto nito sa ating ekonomiya. So, alam nila may mga case study sila, ano nangyari sa Piatco, etc. Meron silang estimates ng cost to the economy. So, yun ang mga invite po natin. So, hindi ko alam kung sino yung mga may... And of course, syempre, ang ating economic managers. Hindi ko alam po kung sino may mga schedule conflict. Pasensya na po.
Of course, I think it is a welcome development that this will be discussed sa plenary bilang isang committee of the whole. That way, there will be more people, more minds on board. Mapapakinggan natin kung ano nga ang pulso ng ating mga foreign investors, ano ang tingin nila sa ating bansa. And at least on the part of the House of Representatives, mas maraming magpa-participate and malalaman talaga nating lahat at mabubusisi natin ng maayos kung ano nga ba ang magiging benepisyo kung buksan natin ang ganitong mga talakayan.
May info lang na hahabol si Madjo at saka si SDS Dong. Ma'am, you have closing remarks? May tanong, sorry. Big of Net 25, sorry. Sorry, mag-mic ka. Maraming gusto makarinig ng boses mo.
Ma'am Stella, can you give us the categorical position of the House of Representatives since the Senate passed the Senate Bill 2534, the 100 peso across-the-board legislated wage increase? So, on the part of the House of Representatives, walang gagawing counterpart bill regarding legislated wage increase, but based on your explanation, the other way around. Hindi kayo, you're against legislated wage increase.
Meron po tayong pending wage bills, but hindi po 100. Kung hindi po, ranging from 150 to 350. So in short, higher po than 100. So, since may pinasa po ang Senado, kahit mas mababa po siya, ang prudent na gawin po namin is, ang tatalakayin po namin is kung ano po yung naka-file po sa atin, which is those ranging from 150 to 350. So yun po ang gagawin natin sa Tuesday. So kung ano po yung we cannot preempt kung ano po yung mangyayari. Kailangan nga natin pag-aralan, no, kung ano yung pakikinggan natin ng iba't iba pong mga experts at inisa-isa ko na po kung ano yung mga issues na kailangan natin alamin from the experts. Hello, Madjo. Yun po ang number one po na sa tingin kong pinaka mabigat po na challenge na kailangan ma-address. Kasi malulugi po ang maraming workers na nasa NCR. Karamihan kasi ng minimum wage workers ay nasa NCR. So, at mas mataas ang presyo sa NCR. So, yun ang kailangan natin ma-address.
Welcome po, Majority Leader Manix M. Dalipe and Deputy Speaker J.J. Suarez. Thank you for joining us, sir. And we welcome also the presence of Senior Deputy Speaker Aurelio Dong Gonzales Jr. Welcome, sir. Sir, do you have any opening remarks o go na tayo sa question? RG Cruz of ABS-CBN.
Sir, for the majority leader, can you walk us, si Kong Stella already told us kung bakit hindi natuloy yung Committee of the Whole today, but my question na lang for you is, can you walk us through the process, what will happen in the Committee of the Whole on Monday and in the succeeding days, and then what will happen all the way from the Committee of the Whole until the plenary and the 3/4 vote?
Yes, I think it was already announced that we have rescheduled the Committee of the Whole hearing to Monday. It is for the reason that we have already been inviting the resource persons and they'll be available on Monday. So it will be a series of hearings, and I do not yet have a definite timeline until when we'll be conducting the hearings. But definitely, we would allow members of the House of Representatives to exhaustively discuss and deliberate on House Bill number 7. So, inimbita po namin yung mga resource persons, kung may mga tanong ang ating mga kasama dito sa Kamara, they can ask and we will proceed. And wala pa namang kaming ibang kwan. But after, finally, if we have we're ready to present the committee report, then we'll present it to the plenary in session.
Sir, ano po bang pinagkaiba ng Committee of the Whole proceedings dun sa nakagawian nating committee proceedings versus dun sa plenary deliberations naman po?
The Committee of the Whole involves everyone already. Unlike in a regular standing committee, you only have members who were elected to be part of that committee. Here, everyone is already part of the Committee of the Whole. And it is a process which will in fact expedite the proceedings, wherein deliberations on the Committee of the Whole will now be more inclusive of everyone in the House. So kasama na po lahat. Hindi na to paulit-ulit pa. Kasi kung gagawin natin sa committee level lang, tapos limited lang yung membership based on the elected members of the committee, uulit na naman sa plenary session yung mga tanong na dapat natanong na ng lahat kung na-convene natin as a Committee of the Whole, which we are doing will be doing on Monday. So, mas mabilis lang siya, yung process.
And if I may add, Majo, one advantage of the Committee of the Whole is everybody gets to participate in the discussions. As opposed sa isang committee hearing, tulad ng sinabi ng ating majority leader, yung mga miyembro lang muna ang magdi-discuss. So given the gravity of the topics to be discussed, given that we will be discussing, debating on amendments of the Constitution, we thought that it would be fit that everybody should participate. All 309 members of Congress participate, and let us open the doors to everybody's ideas, opinions, suggestions, topics, violent reactions, if there may be, just so that we can show that there is indeed truthful discussion from all sectors, from all regions, from all districts, from all provinces, represented by their respective congressmen duly elected by their constituents.
May pahabol lang po akong tanong kay Madjo. So, ibig po ba sabihin nun, pag natapos yung Committee of the Whole proceedings, pagdating sa pag-submit nyo ng committee report sa plenaryo, magbobotohan na lang kayo?
Yes, that's part of the process. Unless the Committee of the Whole decides another recommendation. So, as far as regularity, yun yung magiging proseso natin. When we go on second reading, then we'll vote on it on second reading.
Sir, so after you have your third reading, magsa-second reading, tapos magsa-third reading, after third reading, aantayin nyo na yung version ng Senate, and then what happens next?
After ng?
Third reading po, what happens next?
Well, we will transmit it to the Senate, what we have done, ang output namin.
Is it possible that you will just also adopt their version as an amendment to your version?
Yeah, anything is possible. If it will expedite things to make things faster, because even in previous conversations with the Speaker, masaya na nga kami, even the House leadership and the other members of Congress, masaya na kami sa nangyayari ngayon na pinag-uusapan na to, pinagdedebatehan na to sa Senado. It's a start. For 4 decades, there has been nothing happening in the Senate with regards to the amendments, particularly on the proposed economic provisions which are deemed restrictive by would-be investors. So ngayon, we're happy. I mean, if we can push through and have at least 3 economic provisions amended and would lift those restrictions, and we'll be happy. Okay na kami doon.
Thank you, sir.
Just to add. Just to add, hindi naman kasi everyday kami nagko-committee of the whole. So it reflects that we treat the matter with utmost urgency.
And importance.
And so, yes, Madjo, it's very important to us because sinabi na rin po yan ng Presidente. So kami po ay, we take his instructions very seriously. And at the same time po, as you know, we've had over 300 bills filed in the last how many decades? So, ibig sabihin, ilang beses na rin po namin ito tinake up sa committee level. So, siguro po, pwede na po natin yan lagpasan na at this point in time. Kaya, diretso na po tayo sa plenaryo.
Thank you. Ed Sarto, DZME, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, sirs. To Majority Leader and to our Deputy Speakers. Sir, I have 2 questions. Unahin ko muna yung kay Senator Amy Marcos. The Senator already answered the allegations of the alleged realignment of 13 billion. It was originally daw, talagang nasa budget, but removed during the BICAM because of walang fiscal space. Ano bang sagot natin doon?
Yes, I will repeat my answer a while ago. The rationale behind, according to Senator Amy, the rationale behind the 13 billion budget slash was that 45% lang daw ang nagamit ng DSWD na pondo. But we have to remember, for the year 2023, ang nangyari kasi dyan, ang basehan ng 4-piece ay ang listahanan. And nung year 2019, dyan lang nag-commence ang listahan ng 3. It took a while to complete. We only completed it at the beginning of 2023, at the end of 2022. Ang dahilan kung bakit 45% lang ang nagastos ng DSWD kasi constrained sila. Yung pwede lang nila bigyan ng cash grant ay ang mga na-exhaust ng beneficiaries from listahanan 1 and listahanan 2. Kung gusto natin mag-add ng mga beneficiaryo sa ating programa, kailangan natin sundan ang batas. At nakalagay sa batas, kailangan sinusundan natin ang National Household Targeting System, which is the listahanan. And the listahanan 3 came out noong 2023. Now, it was anticipated na mako-complete natin ang listahanan 3 ng 2023. The DSWD has informed both chambers of Congress na mako-complete na yan by that time. Hindi na complete yung listahanan 3 kasi nga 2019, the budget, the GAA, at the end of the first quarter, doon lang siya naipasa. 2020, nagkaroon tayo ng pandemic. So, na-affect ang paggawa natin ng listahanan 3. So, yun po yung sinagot ko kanina. So, inuulit. Thank you.
Unang-una, I think the question is, dahil na inamin ng ating mahal na senador na nagbawas siya ng pondo, I think ang tanong is, ilang milyong Pilipino ang naapektuhan dahil dun sa pondong nawala? Kasi base sa sinabi ni Congressman Abalos, matatapos naman pala yung listahan by 2023. So therefore, may target beneficiaries na dapat yon. Now, in so much that she said that she removed the funds and diverted it somewhere else, which I think wouldn't affect the fiscal space dahil may budget ceiling naman tayo, ang mas malaking tanong, ilang milyong Pilipino at ilang households ang naapektuhan dahil nailipat yung pera? At mukhang hindi lang yata nung 2023 nangyari ito. So, JC, can you elaborate on this?
Yes. To elaborate on that further, nakipag-meeting ako sa DSWD just recently. And as for the year 2023, meron na tayong projected deficit of 9 billion pesos. And like I said a while ago, at the end of the year, expect that number to grow. Kasi kung nagre-review tayo for our deficiencies, yung COA, bababa pa yan sa field. Sa bawat field office ng DSWD, haharap pa yan sa bawat beneficiaryo. It is a very long process. And at the end of the year, expect na more than 9 billion pa ang deficit. And it will not be easy for the DSWD to find funding for the deficit kasi manggagaling pa yan sa unprogrammed funds and wala namang discretion ang DSWD sa unprogrammed funds. So sa madaling salita, yung 13 billion na na-slash mula sa budget, it is haunting us to today. And very recently nga, kwento sa akin ng DSWD, sa ngayon na, 9 billion na in deficiency. And we should expect that number to grow and we should learn from this so that in the succeeding years, maging successful ang ating 4-piece program at hindi na magka-deficiency and slash ulit.
Yeah, and I don't know if my reaction would be right. Maybe JC can correct me kasi 4-piece representative si JC. So, yung sinasabi na hindi magagamit yung pondo, kaya inilipat sa iba, hindi naman ibig sabihin na matatapos yung paggamit ng pondong yun sa 2023. Pwede naman yun, ipagpatuloy pa rin yung paggamit sa 2024. Diba? So hindi dapat naging dahilan yun. Kasi yung payables nun, yung mga beneficiaries nun, tuloy-tuloy pa naman sila tatanggap kasi huwag natin kakalimutan, 4-piece is a law. You know, it's not just a regular program, it's not just a project that comes and goes, it is a law. So it has specific beneficiaries, it has specific objectives, and therefore, the funding has to be secured to support the intent of the program. Now, of course, with this revelation that we found out a few days ago, I think it is incumbent upon the House to find out kung ano naging epekto nito sa programa, number 1. Number 2, kung ilang milyong Pilipino at households ang naapektuhan sa programang ito. And of course, kung babasihan po natin yung statements ni Secretary Rex kahapon, kung paano pa natin palalakasin yung 4Ps. No? I think the President has come up with some ideas in how to make it more responsive, considering the inflation that is happening in our country. Para sa ganun, yung piso mo dati ay ang effect nun ay piso pa rin katumbas na tulong ang may bibigay ng gobyerno. So, yun po yung aking opinion tungkol po doon.
Sir, pwede pang another question. One more. On Pastor Apollo Quiboloy, I understand na nagpadala na kayo ng subpoena. Na-serve na po ba yung subpoena? Natanggap na?
I understand that the committee has sent already the subpoena to Pastor Quiboloy.
Where, sir? In Davao?
Palagay ko na ipadala na po yun kasi I talked to the chairman and to Vice Chair Johnny Pimentel na napirmahan na yung subpoena and they said it already.
Is there any feedback kung natanggap na po, na-serve na yung subpoena?
Hindi ko palang alam, pero alam ko March 12. Magkita-kita na lang po tayo ni Pastor Quiboloy sa March 12.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. For today's last question, may I call on Kim Salinas of Balitang A to Z. Kim?
Good afternoon po. Kim Salinas from A to Z. Madjo, our Senior Deputy, kung sino po pwede. So, sir, kasi yung ano natin, yung RB87 cancel. Sino yung mga natanong na to kanina, pero hindi siya na ano kasi wala sa Committee on Rules si Kong Stella. Pero sino yung mga specific person o focal persons natin na inimbitahan dito sa darating na Lunes?
We'll just furnish you the list. Wala akong dala dito, but we can forward it to you.
Pero ilan sir yung inaasahan natin o specific person?
Wala ko kasi dinidivide nga namin kasi we will be having hearings on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. That's now the plan. So, we will not be only conducting one hearing per week. The plan is to hold at least 3 per week. So, we have to divide. Anyway, we'll just furnish you later on the resource persons that will be invited next week.
Sir, last question. So, po, ibig sabihin, sir, talagang itong Committee on the Whole natin na gagawin, talagang tapos gagawin nyo pang 3 times a week, talagang urgently needed na maipasa itong RB87, sir?
We would like to work on it, and we have been working on it. The House of Representatives had been working on it for 4 decades. 300 measures filed. So, yung kung roadshow nga, nagawa na namin yung roadshow, yung mga hearings regarding amendment, constitutional amendments, nagawa na yon. So ngayon, it's another repeat. In fact, some of the resource persons will be inviting again for the nth time. Babalik-balik na lang kami. But since we are so concentrated in trying to help this country, especially in amending those restrictive economic provisions of the Constitution, and also with the orders of the President Bongbong Marcos, that the Senate take the lead and we follow suit. Ito na. Hindi lang kami, we're not just following the Senate, but we are also trying to add more time to see to it that we will be able to hear everyone by convening the Committee of the Whole, and as much as possible, we'll try to exhaustively discuss it. Kaya lang hindi kami mag-hearing dito once a week, 3 times a week at lahat na. Hindi to subcommittee, hindi lang standing, buong plenaryo, buong membership ng House of Representatives nandyan na to show our seriousness and to show our desire to push for those economic provisions be enacted.
Very quickly lang po, just to assure you, hindi po kami shortcut. In fact po, parang repeat performance na lang po ang ginagawa namin because nga paulit-ulit na po namin ginawa ito.
Hindi, ito yun, hindi kung shortcut, hindi na kami mag-hearing 3 times a week. Diba? Mga 1 oras lang pwede na. But we want to show, we're gonna hear it 3 times a week. We're gonna hear it for a couple of weeks. Kung hanggang saan matapos yung mga tanong ng ating mga congressman. So ganun kaseryoso yung House of Representatives. And it's our work ethic. Ganun naman talaga kami magtrabaho. Diba? We work double time. We work all the time. In fact, I mentioned a few days ago, since we work hard, we work double time, overtime, we have already passed a lot of the LEDAC priority measures. Ganyan po. Kaya napapasa namin. Kaya ngayon, kung nagtatanong po kayo na matatapos namin to, obviously, we'll be able to finish this with 3 hearings a week. I'm sure we'll be able to act with dispatch on this measure.
We thank our House leaders, Madjo Manix, Senior Deputy Speaker Dong, Deputy Speaker JJ, Congresswoman Teacher Stella, and Congressman JC for joining us today. To everyone, thank you for your participation. See you tomorrow.